All right, you guys. So we have some new developments with the Gates. We can call this Gatesgate. And basically, Melinda is now trying to distance herself from Bill. And it, for one of the most cryptic reasons, it appears as though she is starting to out him and some of the details surrounding his friendship with Eggstain. Now, we knew this story wasn't over yet, but here it is. So I wanted to put together this short show for you guys to go over some of the details of this, as well as some other CV19 updates that you may not have heard yet. Now, all this is breaking news over the last couple days, and so these are some stories that you may not have heard yet. But basically, she's saying that she met Eggstain with her husband in New York. And soon after, she said she was furious at the relationship of the two men, according to people familiar with the situation. Now, put yourself in this situation and remember that during this time, Eggstain had already been arrested and convicted of other crimes leading up to his final arrest and death. And so basically, he had all these accusations against him already. So for Bill Gates to continue to be friends with this person tells you something. Now, I don't think either of these people are innocent. I don't believe Melinda or Bill are innocent, but it makes you wonder. It begs the question, was there some new information that has surfaced about Bill Gates and his relationship with Eggstain? Is there some kind of situation with Giswell? Is she about to drop some information? Like, why is Melinda doing this? And then you got to ask yourself, is this have something to do with her trying to distance herself from him before some big news is supposed to drop? Now, of course, only time will tell. But in the theater of all of this, we're starting to get some new information emerge. It says here, the previously unreported meeting occurred at Eggstain's Upper East Side mansion in 2013 on the same day that the couple accepted this Bloomberg Public Service Award at the Pierre Hotel. They were photographed alongside Bloomberg. The meeting would prove a turning point for Gates' relationship with Eggstain. The people familiar with the matter say, as Melinda told friends after the encounter, how uncomfortable she was in the company of the wealthy offender and how she wanted nothing to do with him. Now, of course, she's going to say this because they were already there with him, and she already knew before she met with Bill and Eggstain that she knew his history. Why was she forced to show up? Couldn't she have stayed home that day? So you got to ask yourself, she's not innocent in all this. Gates' friendship with Eggstain, who for years was accused of what he did, still haunts Melinda, according to friends of the couple who spoke to the Beast this week in light of the pair's announcement of divorce, which was weeks in the making, not years. They learned the financial public relations specialist had been feverishly working on details of the pair's split for weeks before the couple announced their divorce on Monday. So this is what's going on. Now, they actually talk about Gates being caught in a lie, that he said he didn't know Eggstain and had really no friendship with him. And so this article actually outs Gates. So what appears to be happening here is some kind of ritual, roasting ritual or hazing that they're doing. And you got to ask yourself why. Like, is there some big news that's going to come out about CV19 and the virus, as well as the quote unquote cure? Is some information going to come out that's going to make Gates look really bad for pushing all this? Right? Because up until 6 months ago, he was right alongside Slouchy, giving us all these recommendations when he's not even a doctor. So they go on here and they talk about, here's another article on it as well, how they caught Bill Gates in a lie. Linda Gates was upset and uncomfortable after she and Bill met with Eggstain. A meeting between the Gateses and Eggstain in 2013 reportedly left Melinda upset. She warned her husband about the relationship with Eggstain. They met several times between 2011 and 2013. I think this is the article that actually goes on to talk about him being caught in a lie. It says the couple met with Eggstain in New York in his Upper East Side mansion in September 2013. Gates' ties to Eggstain were first reported by the New York Times in 2019 following Eggstain's death. Gates was among several high-profile figures who faced backlash over ties to Eggstain because Eggstain had already been convicted of the crimes. The Times reported that Gates and Eggstain met multiple times. Gates rode on Eggstain's private jet from Jersey to Palm Beach, Florida. Though Gates had previously denied he'd ever traveled with Eggstain in 2019. In a 2019 interview, he said, "I didn't have any business relationship or friendship with him. I didn't go to New Mexico or Florida or Palm Beach or any of that. There were people around him who were saying, hey, if you want to raise money for global health and get more philanthropy, he knows a lot of rich people. Every meeting where I was with him were meetings with men. I was never at any parties or anything like that. He never donated any money or anything that I know about." These are Gates' words. So this is the man that people are holding up as some kind of authority on CV19 when he can't even tell us the truth about his relationship with Eggstain. The two men's relationship appeared to cool in the fall of 2014, according to The Beast, following a $2 million donation to MIT's Media Lab by Gates that the lab's former director claimed was facilitated by Eggstain. So this goes all the way to the top. Now, of course, Gates wasn't the only person to have a friendship with Eggstain. Many other people did, as well as the T-Man himself. That was completely discredited by the Letter That Shall Not Be Named movement as they ran cover for the T-Man. But I am fully convinced that he was knee-deep in all this too. We have some evidence to that effect, and that he lied as well. Dump lied as well about not flying on the Express, and then we found later that he actually did. So she's separating herself from Melinda, separating herself from Bill, and we're gonna have to see how all this adds up. Now here's another story: calls to end the spam-demic. Unemployment benefits gain steam after disappointing jobs report. Now, we had reported on the jobs as it pertains to the lumber industry. Got some backlash for that. People saying, oh, it's not about people not wanting to go to work. Well, it actually is. Now, it's the fault of these stimulus checks and these unemployment benefits. People don't want to go back to work, and there's other reasons as well. I don't blame them having to go to work with masks on, and many of them actually being told by their employers that they have to get the vaccine. I don't blame them. But the fact of the matter is that's part of the orchestrated rising of the prices of lumber. So this is what's going on, and surprisingly, this is coming from the right. It says calls to cancel spam-demic era unemployment benefits intensified this week as worries over labor shortage gain steam, culminating in a crescendo on Friday after a wildly disappointing jobs report. South Carolina and Montana announced plans before the report to end the jobless programs at the end of July after weeks of local reports across the country recounted how restaurants couldn't fill positions. After the jobs report, they announced its support to stopping the extra $300 in weekly unemployment benefits. So people were getting an extra $300 on top of what their unemployment was. And for a lot of people who are working minimum wage jobs, they were making more on unemployment than they were having to go to work. So who's going to want to go to work when you're getting free money from the government? So this is what's going on. They're trying to reboot the economy, restart the economy, and they can't find enough people because of the benefits that they gave out. But we know that all of this was orchestrated. Here's another article to the same effect. This is dated May 8th. GOP governors slash jobless aid to try to force more Americans to return to work. An unexpected slowdown in hiring nationwide has prompted some Republican governors to start slashing jobless benefits in their states, hoping that the loss of generous federal aid might force more people to return to work. So they're talking about this $300 extra. So that appears that it's going to dry up and people are going to go out back to work. Now, this is going to be good for the lumber industry. Expect lumber prices to start to fall again as people come back to work. And that's at least one aspect of the backlog and the rising lumber prices. So we'll have to see how all this shakes out. Now, this story is interesting. This is New York Times. Belonging is stronger than facts. So basically, they're setting this up to make it look like anytime someone talks about anything outside the mainstream, that it's just an echo chamber, that it's just some kind of a cult, and has no legitimacy, and they're probably full of misinformation. So, of course, they're dragging out the horned psyop man to drive their point home. Says there's a decent chance you've had at least one of these rumors or heard at least one of these rumors. All false, relayed to you as fact recently. That Beau Biden plans to force Americans to eat less meat. That Virginia is eliminating advanced math in schools to advance racial equality. And that border officials are mass purchasing copies of Kamala's book. I hadn't heard any of these rumors. Maybe if you're in the letter that shall not be named movement, maybe they're talking about this. But nobody in my circles is talking about any of that disinfo. So they're basically trying to make misinformation a problem, that it's endemic, and that we need to do something about it. This is what they want you to believe, and that this kind of misinformation is dangerous, and it causes people to do things they normally wouldn't do. But don't take the bait, because it's all set up. So now they're trying, in this article, they're trying to redefine your privacy about your medical information. And they're trying to actually assert here that experts say that it's not rude to ask somebody if they've had their vaccine or not. And it's funny because we were just talking about this the other day. I was like, what world are we living in now where you can walk up to somebody and ask them a very personal medical question that's very private? Well, now they're trying to say that it's not rude to do that. So expect now that after some of your family and friends, read articles like this, that they're going to start asking you if you had it or not, because they're in fear for their own safety. Now, this article on its face is ridiculous, because if you've already gotten it, why should you care if other people have gotten it or not? Aren't they telling us that there's a less than 1/10 of 1% chance that you could still get CV-19 after you've had the VC, even though we know that number is a lot higher? So here we are in the world where people, even after getting the VC, are still scared and living in fear. Says if you want to know whether someone you're planning on spending time with has gotten the CV-19 VC, you shouldn't feel bad about asking them, according to etiquette experts. Who are these etiquette experts? Why is there no footnote on here? So we can see and hear and listen to what these experts are talking about and who they are, so we can laugh at them. Unlike many other pieces of health-related information, which are typically kept private in polite company, there's no shame in wanting to know whether people you're close with have gotten the VC. See, what they're doing here is they're trying to use peer pressure to get the remaining people to get it. What better way to peer pressure than to have everybody sitting around at the dinner table, and then the one person that didn't get it gets roasted, and they have to listen for the rest of the whole dinner about how irresponsible they are. That's what they're shooting for in this particular article. We should not be afraid to ask the question, Swan told USA Today. That's because the VC status of a person can have health impacts for the people who spend time around them. Why is that? If they're protected, they're basically trying to equalize the VC with how people perceive the masks. That other people have to have the VC as well in order for us all to be protected. And that's simply not the way they sold the VC. They sold it as once you got it, you're good, right? But now it's almost the same mindset as the masks. Oh, you're only good if everybody gets it. It says people who have been VC'd against CV-19 can increasingly live normal lives without putting themselves at high risk of contracting the VC. But many activities are only safe if a VC person is surrounded by other VC people. This is new information. We weren't told this before. Look at this. They're highly effective at preventing CV-19. I thought it was 99 and 95% effective. But they're not a suit of armor. Says William Shatner of Star Trek, a professor and infectious disease expert from the Star Trek Academy of Ridiculousness. Unbelievable. So that's the new benchmark, the shifting goalposts about that. And in this last story, this is where it's all going to come down to. Can your employer require a VC? As the economy reopens in different stages across the country, millions of Americans are getting back to work. But not everyone agrees on the safety protocols that employers may require. Almost 2/3 of employed people looking for work would not get a VC even if their employer incentivized it. In another report, nearly half of Americans believe employers should require workers to get the VC. I don't believe that number. They're saying half. How can that be if half Americans haven't even taken it yet? While employers are split on what companies should do, businesses can use their discretion in deciding how and when to implement mandatory VC requirements. Well, I can tell you right now, a lot of people ain't going to be going back to work if that's the benchmark, that you have to get it before you come back. Now, they're saying here that employers can require VCs for workers, but they can also not require them. Employers can generally mandate that employees get VC'd, more likely in certain industries such as healthcare or food production. Employers can require proof, like a VC card, since those don't have confidential information. While birth dates are visible, employers already have this information. Companies that do require VC cards, it should be managed by a select group of people. So they're saying that this is not a violation of your privacy and that they have the right to make you get the VC to come back to work. Now, we told you all this was going to happen at the 2-week flatten the curve. We told you this was going to happen. And we were laughed at, as much of the truth community was, who were trying to warn people that this was coming, that there would come a time where you would need this to travel or need this to go back to work. And yet here we are in May 2021, and it's required, or could be required. So we'll be back on here tomorrow, and hopefully you guys got something out of the updates. I love each and every one of you. Take care and be safe.